Hi everybody. Can you see me okay? Can you see me now, guys? Tell me if you can see me now. No, we can't. Oh, you can see me now. Brilliant. Whoop, whoop. Thank the goddess. Because my phone's only at 39%. I didn't want to risk turning it on. I can't see myself. I don't know why it doesn't let me see me. I honestly don't know why it does that, guys. It's like the camera doesn't work on my tablet or something. Crash landing, I made it. Woot woot. Welcome in, everybody. Wait to see who's all here. Hey, it suits me if I can't see myself. Perfect. Mystical Love and Light. Hi, sis. Hi. I could see Christine from my other channel. I was on my Haunted Scotland and I could see Christine, not a problem. Welcome in, Dobie Socks. Welcome in, Christine. I know you're there. Welcome in, Dobie Sis. Welcome in. Who else have we got? Evie! Oh, welcome in, Brother Louis. Welcome in, Paranormal Search. Oh, yous have got a great. My members have got a great video going up tomorrow. It's like a mini vlog of yesterday when we were out ghost hunting. So is Lars no here? Oh, it might be a bit late for Lars, guys. So it will. I am going to read some stories out of the haunted Great Hauntings book. Do you like my photo? That's the one Chris made me up. I actually photocopied it, but it's not turned out too good. So I was going to pick. Oh, guys, honestly, Mystical, have you told them about all the spirits you seen on yesterday's? Oh my goodness, guys, honestly. I need to try and get Mystical over from America to here in Scotland for when we go ghost hunting on a Sunday because she's seen so much. I have got white sage incense lit, my fave. I don't know why I've got my tarot cards. I think it's just a habit now that when I sit in this corner, I bring my tarot cards. I actually also brought this one down. Chris gave me this book, God, way back 3, 4 years ago. Explore 5,000 years of historic Scotland, a souvenir guide to over 300 sites. So what I was going to do was see, I don't even know if Chris is in. Are you in, Christopher? I was going to see if Chris wanted to keep it in the car. It's actually an amazing book, guys. Welcome to Historic Scotland. Scotland's built heritage is a precious resource which Historic Scotland protects for present and future generations. This guide contains details of the many historic properties across Scotland which are cared for by Historic Scotland. From prehistoric dwellings to stone circles, abbeys to cathedrals, castles to palaces, there is more than 5,000 years of Scottish history waiting to be discovered and enjoyed. It says the Romans, the land known now as Scotland, lay on the north-west frontier of the Roman Empire. Roman armies invaded Scotland several times, sometimes defeating the northern tribes, but never incorporating them into their empire. The nature of the contract between Rome and her northern neighbours was that primarily military, and the surviving monuments reflect this. Nearly all the monuments only survive today in earthworks. Don't know what else that says, guys. It's very, very small. Look how small the writing is. So it would be a good book to keep in the car, I think. Scottish borders. Look, there's the borders waiting. I'll find us. We're central. We're central Scotland. We're the valleys. Greater Glasgow and Clyde Valley. That's where we come under. Greater Glasgow and Clyde Valley, guys. Antoinette Wall monuments. Antoinette Wall Bar Fort. See, it tells you all the different things. Look, there's a wee marky of us up there, see? There we're there, Lanark. And Lanark here. Lanark. Did you see that okay, guy? I seen that video earlier, Sister Drew. I tried stop. I seen that, Brother Louis, that you managed to put some timestamps down. Mystical. See, Brother Louis, he spotted mere spirits in that video for last week. I'll be a wee bit late for October, I think. So this is a good one to have, guys. I think that we should actually put it in the car. To be honest. See that one there? That castle there? That's the one that's just down at Kipper Hall. That's the one I've not took these to yet. That's what's it called again? What's it called? Andrina. Try to think, guys. My brain's dead. It's the one down it. Remember I showed you that night we walked all the way up to it and it was a full moon. We walked all the way up. Me, Liam, Michelle. I can't believe I forgot the name of that castle. So I need to Kipper Hall. Anyway, that's that one, guys. We need to take these down. There. I'm trying to find Craignethin Castle, that's what it's called. In a picturesque setting overlooking the River Nethin, the oldest part is a tower house built by Sir James Hamilton of Finnart in the 16th century. The castle is particularly noted for its artillery fortifications, opening summer only, and then it tells you the phone number. Adults £2, children 75p. But when was this book made? It gives you a phone number. I could phone it. So there's quite a few going about us, guys, to be honest. Bothwell Castle as well. I've took yous there. I took yous to the gates of that one. Remember, you can't get right up to it though. And there's the famous Stirling one, look. That's actually the prison. That bit there is actually the jail of Stirling Castle. Argyll, the Isles, Loch Lomond, Stirling and the Trossachs. We need to show you. Honestly, I swear, see half of the places in here I've never heard of. Ayrshire and Arran. Look at that one, guys. If you look, some of the castles always look similar, don't they? I'll be with you in a second. Oh, look. That is the Cullinally Standing Stones and Visitor Centre. A cross-shaped setting of standing stones unique to Scotland and outstanding in Great Britain. Dates to around 2900 BC. The Uras Nan Trossachs manage the visitor centre. Site open all year, 7 days a week. Visitor centre closes on a Sunday. Openings. Is that not a contradiction? Listen. What a contradiction. Right, wait till we find it. Trossachs manage. Right. Site open all year, 7 days a week, right? Well, that's visitor centre, right enough. Visitor centre closed Sundays. I read that kind of wrong there, but look, it's much like Stonehenge. Amazing places to go, guys. I'll read the comments in a wee second. Oh, look at that. Need to find out where that tower is. See this? Where's that? It usually tells you a number beside it. There's there. Abernethy Round Tower. One of the two round towers of Irish style surviving in Scotland, dating from the end of the 11th century. Pictish symbol stones built into the tower. Fine views from the top. Open summer only during the standard opening times published in the guide. Wow, so where's that? Abernethy. Abernethy is away up the Perth. Some great places in here. Honest to God, look at that, man. Is that no Douglas Church? Oh, no, it's not. Look at it. Amazing places. Oh, I love the smell of that wet sage. There's Root Your Soul. So there's loads, guys. There's actually loads we can go to. What are you saying in the comments? Aye, amazing ruins, isn't it? Drew, try and go on a full moon cycle if possible. Aye, I will, sis. Drew, you need to try and get over to Iona. That is very spiritual, but you are governed by the fairy. Right. Well, we need to go there, Evie, don't we? Remember, smash the like button, guys, please. I'll need to move this because it's nearly finished. And do you want to know why it's burning like that? Because it's actually a candle holder. Right, when I'll tell you our options for the stories, right? We've got haunting lights. What I was going to do if you wanted to was start at the beginning and work my way through. Because some of the stories are longer than others. Genuinely, they're about 3 pages long though. But I'll tell you their options, right? The Haunting Lights, Spooky Lights over America, Kaleki House, The Horror of Glamis. This is the name and then a wee bit about it basically. Plague of Ghosts, Mayfair's Haunted House. Cock Lane, The Ghost and the Gossip Poltergeist on Trial. Will we do that, man? The Plague of Ghosts. No. Cock Lane, The Ghosts and the Gossips Poltergeists on Trial. Pages. Let's see how long it is, guys. The Horror of Glamis. That's quite a long one, that, Ian. Aye, that's quite a long one. Right, will we do the ghosts and gossips? The ghosts and gossips, right? Go to the standing stones. I would love to go to them, Eva. It's Christopher you have to see, guys. And we have got news about our team. We've got one new team member. Christopher will tell you about it tomorrow night. Right, okay, guys, if you have nothing else, I'll do the ghosts and the gossips, okay? Right, the ghosts and the gossips. The couple who took up lodgings at the home of Richard Parsons seemed ordinary enough, but with their arrival came a series of events that left Parsons fearing for his sanity and his life. The 18th century, dubbed by the Victorians the Age of Reason, was in fact extravagantly credulous, in a spite of, perhaps because of, the influence of rationalists such as Rousseau and Voltaire. the great ruck of citizens, from high courtiers to low commoners, were obsessed with the supernatural, the unnatural, and the downright bizarre. Sir Isaac Newton, discoverer of gravity, president of the Royal Society, and master of the Royal Mint, spent the last quarter of a century before his death in 1727 in the study of alchemy. Ben Franklin, the writer John Wilkes, and the statical poet Charles Churchill donned monks' robes and cavorted as Sir Francis Dashwood's Hellfire Club on the Thames, acting only half in jest. Nathaniel St Andrea, George the First's resident atominist, ruined his reputation by backing the claim of a woman named Mary Tofts, who swore that she had given birth to a litter of rabbits, and an oak tree in an inn yard near Winchester that groaned out prophecies attracted queues of stately carriages until a speaking tube was discovered leading from its trunk to the landlord's quarters. More seriously, an 18-year-old servant girl named Elizabeth Canning disappeared for a month in 1753 and then reappeared in the 18th century. It seems there was no limits to the extent of human credulity. For example, the claim made by Mary Tofts that she had given birth to a litter of rabbits was apparently readily accepted by at least one eminent physician, and in 1749 crowds of curious crammed a London theatre to witness themselves the amazing powers of the mysterious bottle conjurer, who, it was promised, would disappear into a wine bottle on stage and sing from inside it. He would also play a commonly walked stick, reproducing the sound of any instrument then in use, and for any extra gratuity would raise the spirit of any historical character. The bottle conjurer did indeed disappear, but before the performance and along with the considerable box office takings, in other words, he didn't run claimed that there had been held captive in a brothel on Ennsfield, about 10 miles, which is 15 kilometres, from her home in the city of London. She named her captive as Mother Wells, the madam, and her gypsy servant Mary Squires. They had said Elizabeth left her in a darkened room with only a leaf of dry bread and a jug of water for sustenance. Nevertheless, angelic intervention had kept her alive and fit enough to break out at the end of the month and walk home. Despite the oddity of the story, the great Bow Street magistrate and novelist Henry Fielding believed it and sent Wells and Squires for trial at the Old Bailey. Wells was condemned to death and Squires to branding and a 6-month hard labour. Fortunately, the Lord Mayor of London, Sir Crisp Gascoigne, had sufficient sense of the ridiculous to check the story further. He discovered incontrovertible evidence that the two accused had not been near Enfield at that time, and they were released and pardoned, though not before pretty Mary Squires had been scared with the branding iron. Oh, she'd been scarred, sorry, with the branding iron. Scarred with the branding iron. The Canning affair had much in common with one of the greatest talking points of the century, the business of scratching Fanny, the ghost of Cock Lane. In both cases, the credulous clamour of the mob put lives and reputations at stake on the flimsiest of evidence, while eminent men looked on. Both cases prompted songs, poems, theatrical burlesques, and controversy. But the hindsight of wait, no, I'm getting lost. By the hindsight of over 2 centuries and the light of modern physical research, suggest that something paranormal could have happened at Cock Lane, and the 18th century mass hysteria may for once have clouded a real and striking case of poltergeist activity in the classic mould. Cock Lane is a short, curving thoroughfare in the city of London on the fringes of Smithfield. In the mid 18th century, it was a slightly run down, though respectable area containing private houses, a tavern called the Wheatsheaf, tradesmen's shops, and a charity school. At what is now number 20 lived Richard Parsons, who drew a striped end as official clerk in the nearby church of St Skepler, Snow Hill, and had a wife and two young daughters, the eldest Elizabeth being about 11 years old when the Cock Lane mystery began. Today Parsons would probably be considered a scandal to the church, for he was a heavy drinker with a tendency to run into debt, particularly with his accommodation friend James Franz, landlord of the Wheatsheaf in 1759. However, his drinking habits were no better and no worse than those of many another minor cleric, and he kept himself solvent by taking in lodgers. In October of the year, Parsons met a genteel looking couple who introduced themselves as Mr. and Mrs. William Kent, newly up from Norfolk, and looking for lodgings until their house in Clerkenwell was ready for them. Parsons was happy to take them in, particularly because William Kent, after paying his rent in advance, lent Parsons 12 guineas, to be paid back at guinea a month. A guinea a month, sorry. Soon landlord and lodger were on superficial friendly terms, for William to let Parsons in on his secret. He and his wife Frances, now named Fanny, were not married. 2 years previously, William had kept an inn and post office in the village of Stoke Ferry, Norfolk, and had married Elizabeth Lyons, the daughter of a well-to-do grocer. Unfortunately, Elizabeth was not strong and had difficult pregnancy, during which her sister Fanny, moved in with the Kents to look after her. Elizabeth died in childbirth and her offspring died a month later. After going through this double tragedy together, William and Fanny had grown very close, but the law at the time forbade marriage between bereaved brothers and sisters-in-law, so the pair had decided to live in sin. Coming to London in the summer of 1759, they decided to prove their mutual love and trust by making wills in each other's favour. Fanny had the advantage here, for though according to the latter testimony she had a bare £100, William had a considerable fortune. Apart from half a crown to each other, wait no, apart from a half crown to each of her brothers and four surviving sisters, Fanny left everything she had or might expect to William at his absolute disposal. Oh, bad. A disturbing relationship. You can see what's going to happen, can't you? The first intimation that something was odd about the house in Cock Lane came that autumn. Kent was out of town on business, and Fanny's maid, Esther Carlyle, a redhead nicknamed Carrots, had been given leave. Fanny was nervous about sleeping alone and asked Richard Parsons' elder daughter, Elizabeth, to share her four-poster bed. During the few nights the pair slept together, both were awakened by a rapping noise, seemingly coming from a wainscot of the bedroom. Elizabeth asked her mother about the noise, and was told that it was probably made by the shoemaker next door, who was in the habit of working late. When the noise began on Sunday night, however, the family became seriously alarmed, for the cobbler was absent. Parsons, the two women, and Elizabeth all heard it. The noise, like knuckles rapping, went on night after night, and the comfort of the household was disturbed. So was the relationship between William Kent and Richard Parsons. Parsons had failed to keep his agreement to repay a guinea a month to his lodger and Kent. who by now was ready to move into his own house in Clerkenwell, put the matter into the hands of his attorney. The drunken Parsons rather spitefully reacted by broadcasting the news about the Kents' marital status, or lack of it, to all and sundry. Oh! In January, the Kents moved to Clerkenwell, but the pleasure of setting up home together was but the pleasure of setting up home together was marred by the fact that Fanny, 6 months pregnant, had become seriously ill. William hired a doctor and an apothecary to attend to her, and the doctor diagnosed a confluent smallpox of very virtual nature. To the sanctimonious Parsons, Fanny's illness had been sent to punish her for her sins. The knocking on his wainscot had not abated, and he was beginning to form a theory about that too. It was made by the ghost of Fanny's dead sister Elizabeth, whose suspicious name confirmed when both he and James Franzen had frightened experience towards the end of January. Franz had said at the house to see Parsons, and, finding him out, had sat for a while with Mrs. Parsons and her 2 daughters. They presented no, the, pres- the persistent knocking frightened him, however, and he got up to leave. As he reached the kitchen door, he saw pass he saw pass by him something in white, seemingly in a sheet, which shot by him up the stairs. The vision gave off a radiance strong enough to illuminate the face of the clock in the charity school across the street. Franzen, thoroughly alarmed, ran back to fortify himself with brandy at the Wheatsheaf, and had no sooner left the glass when he heard a thunderous knocking on his front door. When he had steeled himself up to open it, he found Parsons, white-faced and stammering on the doorstep. "Give me the largest glass of brandy that you have," stammered the cleric. "Oh, Franzen, as I was going into my house just now I saw the ghost." "And so he did," replied the landlord, "and have been greatly frightened ever since. Bless me, what can be what can be the meaning of it? It's very uncomfortable." Meanwhile there was alarm of a different kind in Clerkenwell, for Fanny Kent was dying. As acquaintance of William's, the Reverend Shepherd Aldrich of St. John's, Clerkenwell, and the doctor and apothecary sat with her night and day. In the last 50 hours of her life she could take nothing but a little liquid, prepared by the apothecary and administered by the doctor. On the evening of the 2nd of February 1760, Fanny died. William Kent was distraught with grief and ordered a decent coffin, both lined and covered, but for fear of prosecution he asked the undertaker not to put a name plate on the lid. The risk was minimal, but nevertheless it was an offence to live together falsely as man and wife. Fanny was laid to rest in the 12th-century vaults of St. John's, and her family fumed over the provisions in her will. The rappings at Cockhill continued. Indeed, 2 new lodgers there, Catherine Friend and Joyce Witherley, later testified that they had left the house rather than suffered them further. Frustrated and frightened, Parsons called in a carpenter, Batterman Griffith, to strap away the wainscot to seek the cause of the trouble. Nothing was found, and the panelling was replaced. Then Parsons called in the Reverend John Moore, rector of St. Barnaby's the Great, West Smitherfield, to investigate the supernatural possibilities. The investigation were called, this is the investigation, right now, where some investigate the supernatural possibilities. Richard Parsons was becoming seriously alarmed by the mysterious noise at the home in Cock Lane. The strange rappings had continued for several months, and no natural explanation could be found. Then, almost at his wits' end, Parsons asked the Reverend John Moore to investigate to see if some paranormal agency were the cause. Moore was a follower of John Wesley, who was himself no stranger to the supernatural. In 1715, Wesley's family home had been troubled by a knocking spirit, and his father, the Reverend Samuel Wesley, had communicated with it by knocking back. Moore told of Parsons' theories as to the origin of the phenomena. He now believed that the ghost of the newly dead Fanny Kent was responsible, being holding seances, using one's knock for yes and two for no in order to find out the spirit's wishes. The Weasley ghost had centred itself upon Hetty Weasley, John's younger sister, and the Cock Lane ghost now oriented itself upon the Parsons of 11-year-old Elizabeth Parsons. Moore's most productive sessions were held in Elizabeth's bedroom. After the girl had been put to bed, sometimes the knocks came from the floorboard, sometimes from the bedstead or the wall. On the rare occasion when the spirit appeared to be pleased, it made a noise like the fluttering of wings. When displeased, it made a noise like a cat's claws scratching over a cane chair, and became known as Scratching Fanny. Scratching Fanny sounds an illness, a demand for justice. Its message was brutally blunt. It was the ghost of Fanny Kent, murdered by William, who had poisoned her, and concoction of bitter herb with a concoction of bitter herbs and ale, popularly used as a restorative. About 2 hours before she died, Fanny wanted justice. William Kent slowly William Kent slowly recovered from his bereavement and set himself up as a stockbroker and bruised himself in the city. And it was not until almost a year after Fanny's death, in January 1761, that he heard of the continual saga of Cock Lane through a series of articles in the Public Ledger News. Terrified by the ghost's accusations, which were now, of course, public knowledge, he called on the Reverend Moore. Moore was impressed by Kent's manner and bearing, but assuring him that there were very strange noises of knockings and scratchings every night, and that there was something darker behind all, something behind darker than all the rest. As a result of the meeting, Kent went to Cock Lane to sit in a seance himself. To his horror, the knocks accused him personally of having killed Fanny with arsenic, and when he asked a Moore's instigation whether he would be hung, the answer was a single knock. "Thou art a lying spirit," he shouted. "Thou art not gone off my Fanny. You should not have said such things." I read that again. "Thou art not the ghost of my Fanny. She would never have said any such thing." By this time, the ghost of Scratching Fanny, terrible sparkle, isn't it, had become a matter of enormous public interest, and crowds on foot and in carriages flocked to watch the comings and goings of the house. Horace Walpole wrote, "Provisions are sent in like forage, and all the taverns and alehouses in the neighbourhood make fortunes." To the credit of the Parsons family, however, none of them seemed to have made any money from the phenomena. As the year went on, so the seances continued. On one occasion, one of the sitters, William Legge, Earl of Dartmouth, and himself a Methodist, decided to have Elizabeth Parsons moved to the house of a gentleman named Bray, just to see what happened. The knockings The knockings accompanied her, seeming to show that she, and not the actual Cock Lane premises, was the catalyst. But the girl was watched closely. Women attended holding her hands and feet to rule out fraud, and still the noises went on. Mm. The proceedings had taken on the atmosphere of a kangaroo court, with the doctor and apothecary who had attended Fanny Kent in her last illness, denying that Kent could have poisoned her. She had drunk only the preparation in the 50 hours before her death, and the knocking contradicting them. The maid servant Carlyle was implicated also, and indignantly shouted at the spirit, "That I am sure, madam, you may be ashamed of yourself, for I never hurt you in my life." Elizabeth Parsons herself had begun to have epileptic fits. She claimed to have actually seen the ghost in a shroud and without hands. She claimed that the only aspect of the matter that frightened her was what would become of her daddy if their matter should be supposed to be an impostor. William Kent was naturally anxious to clear up the matter. Moore, convinced that the ghost was telling the truth, was also eager for the authorities to act. But the only person in the City of London with the power to order a full investigation was the Lord Mayor, Sir Samuel Fludyer. He did not choose to stir much, for it was somewhat like Canning's affair, which has caused a great for his predecessor, and he refused to order the arrest of either Kent for suspected murder or Parsons for fraud. Instead, he insisted that an independent investigation should be held at the house of the Reverend Stephen Aldrich, Vicar of St John's, Clerkenwell. Aldrich, to make sure that this investigation would be impartial, formed a committee with Lord Dartmoor. They chose Dr. John Douglas, an amateur investigator who had exposed a number of frauds, Mrs. Oakes, a hospital matron, Dr. George Macaulay, a society physician, two or three gentlemen, and Dr. Samuel Johnson. Johnson had been seen fascinated. No, sorry. Johnson had long been fascinated by ghosts. The idea of total oblivion after death horrified him. He summoned up the attitude to his biographer, James Boswell, still in his undecided whether or not there has ever been an instance of the spirit of any person appearing after death. All argument is against it, but all believe it is. But he understood to assist in the investigation of Scratching Fanny for a typically humane reason. It was a fair was a fraud. It was seriously damaging the reputation of William Kent, who seemed an honest and decent man. The committees of gentlemen, as the newspapers termed it, decided on a new course of action. They arranged to, to test Elizabeth Parsons at Aldrich House, and then leaving her behind, they would descend to the vault of St. John's, where the ghost would knock on Fanny Kent's coffin to prove its objection's existence. A preliminary séance was held, and the ghost agreed to these conditions. The test begins. On the evening of the 1st of February 1762, Elizabeth was put to bed at Aldrich House, attended by the matron, Mrs. Oakes, and another woman. According to Dr. Johnson's report, the child said that she could feel the spirit, like a mouse upon her back. No evidence of the preternatural power was exhibited. The committee then made its way to St. John's, entered the vault, and called upon the spirit to keep its promise by knocking on the coffin. but nothing more than silence ensued. It is the it is therefore the opinion of the whole assembly that the child has some art of making or counterfeiting particular noises, and that there is no agency of higher cause. One or two more seances followed, but the affair was near to its end. On the 3rd of February, a large gathering saw a curtain rod spin violently of its own violation, and heard a knocking of such violence high up in the chimney that they thought it would have broke into pieces. Finally, Elizabeth was told that she had only one more night, the 21st of February, to prove her innocence. Otherwise, she and her father and mother would all be sent to Newgate. I take it that's a prison. The final session was held at the house of a gentleman named Mr. and Covent Garden. Mr. in Covent Garden, and this time, perhaps not unexpectedly, there were positive results. The child was seen creeping from her bed to pick up a piece of wood, which, which she subsequently made knocking sounds. But Mr. and his companions agreed that this blatant piece of fraud produced sounds not like the others heard previously. Elizabeth was naturally terrified for her freedom. The tide had turned into Kent's favour. On the 5th of March, a pamphlet entitled The Mysteries Revealed, usually attributed to Oliver Goldsmith, put the case of the innocent to force. Later, Charles Churchill published a long poem, The Ghost, which laughed at the affair, particularly Dr. Johnson's part in it. Dr. Gartrick turned the saga of Scratching Fanny to good use by making it the centrepiece of a comic restoration, The Farmer's Return, a Druid Lane theatre. On the 9th of February, a new knocking ghost was advertised as likely to form in Broad Court, Covent Garden. The magistrate at nearby Moor Street was John Fielding, the half-brother of Henry Fielding, and he sent the ghost his compliments, which in intimation that it would not meet with the Leanery the Cock Lane spirit did, but that it should knock hemp in Bridewell, on which the ghost very discreetly omitted the intended exhibition. On the 10th of July, the conspirators were brought for trial at the Court of King's Bench, Guildhall, before Lord Mansfield. The charge was that the Reverend John Moore, Richard Parsons, Mrs. Parsons, and others were conspired to take away the life of William Kent by charging him with the murder of Frances Lines, by giving her poison, therefore causing her death. James Franzen, the landlord, Carrots, the servant, the doctor, and the apothecary all gave evidence, with several people spoke up for Parsons. After a trial lasting a day, the accused was found guilty. The Reverend Moore was heavily fined. Parsons was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment and 3 sessions in the pillory, and his wife to 1 year's jail. Elizabeth Parsons did not stand trial, but was not apparently troubled by her ghost again. Even after leaving prison, Parsons protested his innocence, and his protests have a convincing ring to them. He had gained nothing from the Cock Lane affair but notoriety and punishment. He had differences with Kent, it was true, but he was, drunkenness apart, a well-liked man of previous good character, with no wish to put another's life at stake. Furthermore, hundreds of people, the Duke of York, Horace Walpole, and Lord Hertford included, had heard the knockings for themselves at Waistcoat, and a good distance from Elizabeth's bed. A twist in the tale. And the manifestations themselves centering on a young pre prepubescent girl who had epileptic tendencies closely echoed modern cases held by parapsychologists to the genuine. Perhaps the interpretation of the Cock Lane wrappings was the only fault of Parsons and Moore. Or perhaps the ghost had point after all. The coffins were cleared from the vaults of St. John's Church in 1860, and 10 years previously an illustrator, J. W. Archer, had visited them to produce illustrations for a book by Charles Mackay, entitled Memories of Extraordinary Popular Delusions, which featured the Cock Lane ghost. By the light of the lantern, the sexton's body, who accompanied Archer, had opened the coffin, said to be that of Scratching Fanny, and shown him the body within. The face was that of a once handsome woman, with a pronounced aquiline nose, an uncommon case, wrote Archer, for the cartridge mostly gives away the remains had become adipoca, Adipocre, whatever that means, and were perfectly preserved. There was no sign, as far as they could see, of the smallpox from which Fanny was said to have died, but the preservation of features, the nose in particular, would unfailingly set a modern forensic scientist looking for traces of arsenic poison. There you go, guys. She was a bloody ghost. Did you get that? Away October, sis. So basically, he did murder his wife, and she was the ghost. Oi, that for that. I don't see a join button on my end. Mystical, if it's for the channel, if it's for to join my channel, don't do it just now because it's no the second. I think the 2nd of June it restarts. So don't join just now. I'm sure it's the 2nd. I tell you what I'll do, right? The investigation that we did yesterday, there's actually 3. There's the investigation at the castle, then there's the Roman bridge, and then there's the wee cemetery. So, and there's a bit with me and Chris in the car, just talking and things. So it's a good wee vlog. You'll enjoy it. That's what I'll do. From now on, what we're going to do is, right, on a Sunday, we're going to film. One week Chris will do it in his channel, the next week I'll do it in my channel. And then we'll just do a review on like the Wednesday or something, if somebody sees a ghost in it. Right, then I'll show you. Turn my phone on and I'll show you where it is. If you get the long strip along your phone, you usually have your Drew's Paranormal vlog. Right, Drew's Paranormal vlog, then you'll have videos live. In between that, I think it is. Is it a cool story? Thank you. It was a wee bit muddled up, wasn't it? It was off jumpy. I would have liked it if it was maybe the full book to explain it all a little better. Not jumping generations and things. I didn't like that. Where it jumps generations. Right, wait, I'll show you. I've added another 2 tiers to it. So basically the first 2 tiers, everybody gets a tarot card reading on their birthday. So remember and let me know either on your birthday or within the first 5 months that you've been a member. He's got a tarot reading, he's got shout outs, he's got extra wee vlog videos. And then the higher tier's £9, I think it was I made it for. And that gets you the option to come up on screen with me. What else did I put? To come up on screen with me. There was something else, I can't remember what it was. Tarot readings, everything like the 1st June. Come up on screen with us to say hello and everything to everybody for 5, 10 minutes, depending on what you want. You can stay for 20 minutes and things, but if it's normal members, like see, like Dobie and things that don't usually want to come up, if they don't want to come up, that's perfectly fine. You just don't have to come up, okay? But it's for the ones that maybe have got a channel and things. I'll let you come up on screen with me and promote your channel, is what I'm trying to mean. You know? Maybe I'll show you this. Right, so you go to your channel, right? Can you see that? So there's your channel, right? So if you see the Drew's Abandoned Paranormal Vlog, see I can't do it because wait a minute, I'll do it the way that you will see it. Drew's Paranormal Vlog. I can't see it because I'm the host. Wait no, and I'll change channels. I'll change to my broomsticks channel. And I'll be able to show you better. Right. You see it? It says Drew's Paranormal Vlog, and then you've got join. You hit the join, and it'll come up with that. You've got My Drew's Crew for $4.99 a month. You've got Supportive Drew, which is $5.99 a month, and then you've got My Super Drew Crew, which is $8.99 a month. See, to let you understand, guys, for the $4.99, I get £2.10. So that's why I done the option of higher, in case any of you want to be higher and give a little more. But to let you understand, guys, see if you don't want to be a member and you want to just give me a donation once a month on the part in the PayPal or something, that's totally up to you. The only thing is you would miss out on that content. I've got loads coming for the members. Wait till you see the vlog with me and Chris. It was funny. It's quite funny. I managed to get a cigarette. Do you want to know what? Welcome, my Miss Techno Shaman. Welcome, everybody. Right, we did the story. Now, I'll tell you what I've got coming up, right? So, tomorrow night we have got our show on Mystical Love and Lights channel, which is 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. American time, and 5 p.m. Canada time, I do believe. Then we have got, and what we're doing, we're going to get all the ghost hunting equipment out. Mystical's going to show us all the cool equipment she's got. How much do you still need to get your... Oh, loads, sis. God. Think about it. I'm at £22. So, I need to get to £60, which is... 40. £38, right? So, technically, you have to double that. If you think about it. Hi, Slim. Because whatever I make on YouTube is usually half. Ages to go, sis. Ages. Alright, sister, I am heading out. Oh, alright, brother Louis. Love you, brother. See you soon. My Louis. Yeah, so we've got that up tomorrow night. Wednesday night, we're on Christopher's channel at 10 past 10. I'll tell you, we're talking about the Socky Ghost, I think, this week. Socky Poltergeist. He keeps changing it on me. And I'll tell you what we've got on Go Squad this week, guys. Oh my goodness, look at the thumbnail he's made. Look at this. My goodness. You think I'm jumping? Right, wait, now I'll tell you what we've all got coming up on Go Squad. If you are not subscribed to Go Squad, guys, please go over and subscribe to Christopher's channel. We are live there every Sunday doing a ghost hunt in many Scottish locations. Sometimes it'll be castles, other times it'll be cemeteries, sometimes it'll be both. So definitely check out Ghost Squad Scotland, guys, please. Right, tomorrow night we have got, sorry, Wednesday night we've got Haunted Scotland, the Clydebank Blitz, double World War Two. So definitely go over to Go Squad Scotland and hit the notifications. I think he's actually got it up. Oh look, who's up? And also check out Mystical Love and Lights channel, guys, please. She's doing really good. She's nearly almost at, look, she's at five.
Hello everyone, Mystical Love and Light here.
She's at 536. 536 subscribers, guys. Come on, let's get her up there, please. Keep sharing out all our content. There's honestly people out there doing gardens right now that will be happy to see half of the things she's got going. So that's what we've got coming up this week. Friday on Go Squad, I think he said we've got our friend. I'm sure he said it was this week. We should have the Reverend coming up this week. I always call him a Reverend. He's not a Reverend. Bishop Brian. I'm sure we've got Bishop Brian on Friday. I got promoted today, Drew. I got a call to be suited and booted, shirt and tie. Oh, you thought it was a bit. Well done, Techno. Well, congratulations. I know how hard it is to get a job. Well done. Well done, buddy. I'm sure we'll get Reverend Brian this week. Eight days. Next week it is, we've got Reverend Brian. 8 days, guys, and we are talking. I can't believe he's coming to talk to us. I honestly cannot believe it. We have the Reverend Brian coming to talk to us. Wow. This week we have got. Right, next week we've got Reverend Brian. This Friday we have that's the Poltergeist House on Friday. Okay? So tomorrow night we've got Mystical Love and Lights channel, guys. 9 p.m. UK time. Wednesday we have Ghost Squad Scotland. 10 past 10 UK time. Thursday night, if Sherry or Mystical or anybody doesn't want to go live, I'll go live again on Thursday night. And then Friday night we have Christopher. We'll talk about the Socky Hall Ghost. And then it's continually that again, guys. If Saturday night, if anybody wants to go live, let me know. If not, I might go a ghost hunt around here and show you. It's 12 o'clock just now, so it probably started to get dark about 10:30. So if I leave here 9, 9:30, go down to either Birkwood. I'm not going to Birkwood at the weekend because all the teenagers drink in there. I'll go to either the big cemetery up the top, Lismahago, that I only showed you the once, or I'll go to Lovers Lane, okay? Yeah, the Socky Hall poltergeist. There's there, watch. It's spelled the Suki. It's spelled Sauchie. Well done, Techno getting promoted. I'll put that up in case anybody's not seen it. Well done, pal. Well done. Uh, so there you go, guys. So that's about all we've got coming up. I will have, because I hit that. I will have probably wee daily vlogs and things going up in the next couple of days. What I'll do is the one that I've got to the vlog, Chris and I out yesterday, I'll put that on members. But it is a good video, guys. So I've not even edited it yet, but it's a good video. When I edit it, it will be a good video. It was a good day. So when I put it together, I'll put it out on members probably for a couple of days or a week, and then I'll put it out on the channel to give everybody else a chance to see it. That name is weird. See, there is a place in Scotland called Sauchie Hall Street. That's in Glasgow. Sauchie Hall Street is where you've got all your big shops, all your big designer shops and things is up Sauchie Hall Street and places like that. We'll try and find a better story next week out of this. Either that or I'll maybe see what other books I've got, guys, and read some stories out it. No End to Barley. Where Harry Price has dictators and his defendants chasing ghosts in the wrong place by concentrating on Borley Rectory. This chapter examines a case where the genuine haunting across the road at Borley Church under investigation since the 1970s. Let's see how long that is. I should have read that one, guys. Looks better. I'll read about it. Look at it. It's the one with the old church, isn't it? Beautiful garden. We've got all their equipment nowadays. In, in all his in all his Borley investigations and writings, Harry Price paid scant attention to the 12th century church itself. He was aware of a story told to him by Ethel Bull in 1929 that coffins in the Waltergrave family vault under the church had been mysteriously moved at some time during the 19th century, but he made little attempt to follow up the matter. Price may have missed his real chance to confirm the paranormal, for since the early 1970s, unexplained events in and around the church, many of them recorded on tape, have proved to be far more baffling than anything that happened in the old rectory. The manor of Barley, the Anglo-Saxon Four Boars pasture, was mentioned in Domesday Book when a wooden church served the locality. The south wall of the present church contains remains of the flint and rubble building erected in the 12th century. The chancel, the north wall of the nave, and the west tower were added in the 15th century, followed 100 years later by the red brick south porch. In the little churchyard itself, planted around with clipped yews and horse chestnut trees, lie the graves of the Bull family. Vandals have broken the stone cross on the Reverend Harry Bull, the Victorian rector, who drowned what? Who drowsed away his last years in the summer house and reported seeing a ghostly nun and phantom coach. Geoffrey Commonwealth, sorry, Geoffrey Cromhollingworth, that's a long name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 17 letters. Cromhollingsworth, who runs a small physical research group at Harlow, Essex, believes from his investigations that the cause of the rector's death in 1927 was syphilis, advanced syphilis, and accompanied by narcolepsy, a constant drowsiness, during which the sufferer hallucinates, a fact that would seem to explain the rector's visions neatly. But Crim Hollingsworth does not think that this is the whole answer, for he and an assistant Roy Porter claim to have observed the phantom nun themselves for a period of about 12 minutes. Crim Hollingworth came upon the Borley controversy in the 1960s and decided to examine the facts himself. He and his group began a series of vigils of Borley. Like subsequent investigators, they chose to keep watch at night to avoid interruption. Over a period of years, in differing weather conditions and in different times of year, they heard an assortment of noises, raps, heavy panting, and the sound of furniture being moved. On one occasion, while in the orchard, something huge and dark, like an animal, approached them between the front trees and they banged loudly on the fence. On another night, at about 3 a.m., the group heard laughter and merriment, which seemed to be coming up the road towards Burley Church. The night was misty, but there was sufficient light to see that nobody was on the roadway. Assuming that the voices were those of late night travellers, but puzzled by the direction of the sound, Roy Potter got into his car and coasted down the road towards Long Melford with his engine off. He met nobody using his walkie-talkie, linked with Grim Hollingworth. He arranged the experiment of shouting at various points along the Melford Road to see if the sound carried. The listeners in the churchyard heard nothing. In an attempt to record similar noises, a tape recorder was set up in the porch of the church. While the group kept watch from a distance, nobody was seen to enter the porch, but the group heard a loud crash and found the tape recorder pretty well battered. The tape had been torn from its reels and lay in the tange. Sorry, from its reels and lay all tangled. But it was the sighting of the nun that convinced the Harlow group that something was indeed strange about Borley. One clear night, Crim Collingworth was standing in the orchard looking towards the nun's walk. Suddenly, I saw her quite clearly. Suddenly, I saw her quite clearly in a grey habit and cowl. As they moved across the garden and through a hedge, I thought, is somebody pulling my leg? Roy was out in the roadway, the nearest of the group, and I shouted to him. The figure has disappeared into a modern garage, and I thought that was that. But and Roy's but as Roy joined me, we both saw her come out of the old side. She approached to about 12 feet, 3 meters, from us, and we both saw her face, that of an elderly woman in her 60s perhaps. We followed her, and she seemed to glide over a dry ditch, as if it wasn't there, before she disappeared into a pile of building bricks. Neither of us were frightened. It was an odd sensation, but peaceful and tranquil. Not surprisingly, in view of experience, Prim Hillingworth has little time for the critics, who point to the discrepancies in Price's account of her haunting. On the other hand, he said, I don't give a damn if Price invented things or not. The basic question is the place haunted? And you can take it from me, it is. I have invented I have invented nothing. Roy and I saw the nun quite clearly for a period of about 12 minutes. Crim Hollingworth's determination impressed Denny Densham, a film director and cameraman. In 1974, he got permission to experiment with tape recorders in the church. The result, which were used by the BBC, which is a basically like CNN, BBC as a basis for the television programme are, Denham says, quite baffling. The first taping began at midnight during the winter months. After the church was carefully examined and searched, a cassette player was placed in the altar, and the investigators sat at the other end of the church. The tape picked up a series of bumps and raps. Next, two tape recorders were locked up in the church, one by the altar and the other halfway down the aisle. Both picked up the unmistakable sound of heavy door being opened and slammed shut, a complete with the squeaking of a bolt. Neither the porch door, sorry, neither the porch door had been opened. Neither the porch door nor the smaller chained door had been opened. The researchers had kept watch on the church from outside, and examination showed that the chancel door bolt had not squeaked. The following week, Densham and his team started their vigil at 12:30 a.m. They set up a sophisticated stereo tape with two high-quality microphones, each placing one, each again placing one near the altar and the other halfway down the aisle. An additional cassette machine was positioned in front of the altar. Then half the team were locked up in the church, and the other half kept watch in the churchyard. Suddenly there was a curious change in the atmosphere, said Densham. One of the team felt as if he was being watched, and we all felt very cold. During the next minutes the tapes picked up a clatter, as if something had been thrown down the aisle. There was also knockings, rappings, the sound of the door opening again, although both doors remained locked and bolted, and chillingly the sound of human sigh. Afterwards, the team found that the small cassette recorder had jammed and had been extracted and tangled up at the chrome Hollingworth tape had been. In July, the party visited Borley again at 1:45 a.m. They felt a change in the atmosphere. We all felt watched, and curiously tingled sensation we felt. Oddly enough, the machine seemed to pick up a lot of static at that point. We recommended stealthy sounds near the altar, the sound of the door shutting again, crash of something being knocked over, and then the sound of hollow, heavy footsteps, like those of a very large man walking around the altar. We could not reproduce them normally. The floor there is of stone, heavy, carpeted. The observers then saw a glow of light near the chancel door, followed by the terrifying grunt. On this, their final visit, the team saw pinpoints of light in the curtains by one door. One heard the sound of a heavy crash. Densham said, Frankly, I am lost to explain what goes on in Borley. We made every effort to ensure that our legs weren't being pulled and the tapes were not and untampered with. No theory I have tried to put forward seems to pan out. We tried leaving a pencil and paper in the church, asking the thing to rap and so on, but it didn't seem to be trying to communicate, unless the damage to the tapes and the throwing of invisible objects in our direction meant that it resented our presence. One's left with the feeling that whatever causes the phenomena is different to or perhaps unwanted of observers. Ectoplasm in the churchyard. Since the number of 1974, one of the most regular researchers at Bowley has been Ronald R. Russell, a member of the Enfield Parapsychology Research Group, a professional photographer, Frank Parry, an electrical engineer, and John Fay, a mechanical engineer, usually work with him. Russell has achieved odd results while taking photographs of the area with the Agfa CCZ-1 camera, in which the film is contained in a cassette and processed in the Agfa laboratory. Sandwiched between perfectly normal frames, we got ectoplasm, stuff in the churchyard. Shadows where no shadows could be, a thin light near the north door. As a photographer, I am lost to explain this, as the camera film malfunctioned. Parry has used a graphic analyzer, an 8-channel recording machine with slider controls that adjust pitch and level, cut out interference, and enable its operator to pinpoint sounds. As Russell said, we have recorded hundreds of extraordinary noises, footsteps, crashes, and so on. On one occasion, we located a centre of disturbance near the Waldering grave tomb. It was tangible, like a swirling column of energy. When you passed your hand through it, you felt a sort of crackle, like static electricity. On another occasion, we heard a deep grunting voice, which reminded me irreversibly of Lee Marvin singing Wandering Star. Eh? Russell is inclined to side with the Price faction of Borley, though he concedes that Price may be embellishing facts. I think there may be three basic factors at work here. First, the nun. There would be nothing odd about a nun in the household of Catholic family like the Waldegraves. Perhaps the apparition which Mr. Croom Hillingworth saw is simply a psychic record of some such person. Secondly, it seems to be some sort of power concentrated in the church itself. It is on the intersection of two ley lines, and when you try dowsing in the church, the rod particularly twists from your hands. Thirdly, I would suggest that the power is boosted by the presence of observers, and also that it waxes and wanes with the seasons. In January, phenomena are spectacle, while in August it seems to be all full flood. The church authorities are non-committal, prefer to avoid discussion of the topic, but in the parish guidebook under the heading Ghosts, there are a footnote, and it says, there are of course those who suggest the church itself is haunted. Many old churches and buildings have noises and chills, and which some would classify as ghostly. But those who have lived long enough in the village, and we who worship in the church, have not experienced anything which would support such thoughts. Visitors could please remember that this is God's house and treat it with reverence. In other words, guys, they aren't going to admit that it's haunted. I had to read that one, it got my eye. What are you saying, guy? I can't see myself. All I can see is a green screen. A green screen? You're an idiot, Andrina. Wait a wee minute. How fucking stupid. How stupid can I get? Of course it's got to be a green screen. Did I get it off the green screen? I'm a fucking idiot. I forgot that these things had green screens, didn't they? I don't know how to get it off the green screen, guys. I don't get it. I tried to put my Drew's Paranormal vlog background up and it's not going to let me. I don't understand it why I can't. I honestly don't know how I can't see myself. Not that I want to see myself, but I honestly don't know what this is, guys. How I even fix this? What I'll do is I'll go into the settings once I go off and I'll try and fix it, right? I don't understand it, guys. I know, I honestly don't know. I'm gonna go anyway. That's at what? 12:30. Green screen on StreamYard. Don't know what had that. Yeah, it's got a green screen, sis. I'll figure it out. As long as you can see me, it's fine. I don't need to see myself. I hate seeing myself anyway. Do you know I never looked in a mirror for about 30 years? I did not start looking in. To let you understand, I used to wear makeup all throughout my life. I met Willie and I still wore makeup when I met William. And then I had Liam and I kind of stopped wearing makeup and things. You know what it's like? You have better things to do. So I stopped wearing makeup and things like that. And then, yeah, then I started wearing makeup again. So you're talking, I never probably looked in a mirror for what, 10 years? 10 years probably. I didn't, just hate looking at myself, guys. I can't listen to myself back either. I'll have a wee look. I rarely use the mirror, freaks me out. I hate it too. I don't like it. Uh. Oh, you can see my beautiful face. Don't say that, I can't. Right, so look, you've got the schedule down, guys. Tomorrow night we are on our beautiful sister Mysticals channel, which is 9 p.m. UK time. Wednesday night we're on Ghost Squad Scotland, 10 p.m. Friday we're back on Ghost Squad. Thursday I might do something. I'll get an open panel or something and have all our sisters and things up. And Techno Shaman, you've not been to my channel yet. Why don't you come on Thursday? Why don't you come on Thursday, Techno, and have a wee chat with me? And oh, guys, we have got Neil's story coming next Monday. Just think of what we're going to have next Monday. Next Monday, we're going to have Neil's story. And then on the Friday, we're going to have Bishop Brian. I'm blown away. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to have a word with Haunted Finders and see if they'll come back for a chat. And then I'll ask them for Mystical's channel and Ghost Squad as well. Right, everybody, I'm going to love and leave you because I feel as if I'm talking to myself. I see a black screen now. Did it turn black when I turned that off? Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, This has got to be one of these nights I'll be up all night because I usually smoke a bit of weed and have none. That's why I'm hyper. So I'm going to be up all night, hyperactive. I'm going to end up having to make my jars or something just to keep my mind amused. Right, good night, everybody. Thank yous for coming tonight. Yous are all a blessing, I must say. I love every single one of yous. Yous are all my Drew crew, no matter what. Okay? Okay, everybody, I'll bye for now. I feel as if I'm talking to myself. Sparkle, am I talking to you, hey? She's out cold, look. Can you see her? She's out cold, guys. Right, everybody, I will see you all tomorrow night on my beautiful sister's Mystical Loving Lights channel. Now she's saying good night to everybody. Good night, Drew. Good night, everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I couldn't say it better. Hi, Iron Sis. Love you too. Right, okay, everybody, have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good evening, wherever you are in the world. Just have a bloody good time, okay? Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Will we do an outro? Wait till we see if we can do an outro and be fancy. You'll like that. Bye bye for now. I've got one more if you want to listen to it the way. Oh, good night, everybody. Have a good night, okay? Bye for now.